Oh, God. Oh, my God.
And no matter what I do, Peter yells at me.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, Sean. Now I feel bad.
Good. Welcome back to Cage Match, everybody. Cole in a roundabout way of meeting Nicolas Cage. I'm Sean here with...
I'm Nick.
And...
Hi, I'm Peter, the producer of this show.
And this week we have some special guests. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Alex.
And I'm Sami.
And we're the original siblings.
Cut that, please.
Nailed it.
Excellent. No, that's perfect. That was flawless. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your show before we really jump into things.
Yes, we're from Star Trek, the original siblings. That's our podcast where we watch old episodes of Star Trek, and we talk through the whole thing. And it's pretty fun. We make jokes. Sami talks about how hot Spock is, and we just kind of goof around and have a good old time.
I get it. Young Nimoy.
Oh, yeah.
Sensual Nimoy.
He still gives me like stern uncle vibes, though, even when he's young.
That's valid.
So yeah, Cage Match is a bracket-style 64 Nic Cage movies going head-to-head. So they're all seeded better to worse. And this week we have a 3 seed going up against a 14 seed.
This is the fucking weird part of our bracket.
Yes.
So...
Yeah, these films definitely occupy a very specific corner of Nic Cage's career, and I think it's very fitting that they are up against one another.
The bad part, right?
We've had this weird perfect storm where just the right movies go up against each other without trying, because this is all just an aggregate score based on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, Peter?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just been sort of random how the matchups shook out, but there's always something that kind of blends between the two movies, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just Nic Cage.
Yeah, well...
Sometimes it's mustaches, though.
It could be mustaches, yeah.
This
time.
No.
This is... these two are both late stage Cage, modern Cage, 2018 and 2021?
I think so. Yep.
Before we really jump into that, though, what's your relationship to Cage movies? Because you reached out to us, Alex, and said that you were a medium Cage head.
Yes, and that's only by the standards of fanatics. By the standards of an ordinary person, we're both fanatics, I'd say. But we've been long-time Cage heads. We just love the crap out of Nicolas Cage. We've been really into him for a long time. We got back in like high school or something, back in probably 2008 or something. We got into a big Cage war where we would send each other on Facebook. We would Facebook, remember that? We would send each other pictures of Nic Cage's face photoshopped onto other stuff back and forth. We said we were having a Cage match and we just send them back and forth. And then, going back, gosh, I can't think of quite what the movie was that made him click for me. Definitely an early favorite.
I think it was Adaptation, probably. Or Matchstick Men, or Weatherman.
Weatherman was the one I was going to say. That's the first time I remember really clocking how much I loved him. And it's still one of my very favorite Cage films. I think it's a genuinely good one. So I don't know. Do you guys hate it?
Oh, we haven't watched Weatherman yet, but I hope you haven't listened to our adaptation one.
You guys don't like Adaptation?
Oh, one of us does.
I love the adaptation.
And I love that there's 2 Nic Cages in Adaptation, because the more Nicks, the better.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty amazing.
I love that Peter looks like Charlie Kaufman.
No, I look like Donald Kaufman.
Oh,
Big difference.
You went through a windshield.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck. Am I correct in remembering that you said that you guys watched Prisoners of the Ghostland at Thanksgiving?
Yeah, a couple years ago, right when it came out, we were together, and I was quite excited for the release. I get pretty excited for all his new releases these days. I paid $20 to watch The Old Ways, the day it came out on YouTube. I had friends over. I shaved my facial hair into a handlebar mustache. I wore a cowboy hat. It was an event for me.
Did you shave it into a handlebar and then immediately shave it after 5 minutes? Because that would be appropriate for that movie.
Just as soon as the flashback's over.
He should have had it for the whole film. It would have made the movie worth it, honestly.
All right, well,
so Mandy, why don't you guys run us through what this movie's about?
So this is the movie that they show kids to discourage them from doing drugs.
It's also not meant to be watched without drugs, for the record. Neither of these movies are. I was really high the first time I saw both these movies, and I was completely sober now the second and third time I've seen both of these films, and it's a mistake. Like, definitely watch these movies high. In a sentence, Nic Cage's wife Mandy gets abducted and killed by a crazy cult, and Nick goes on a furious rampage to get revenge on them, involving chainsaws and giant medieval-looking battle axes and a lot of screaming and a lot of drugs, and it's fucking wacky, and he descends into a sort of hellscape of weird cults, visuals. The whole thing's kind of like a music video, but there's dialogue.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the right time to say this, but for a revenge movie, the like actual like fights and killing people was kind of lame. I feel like all of the like, killing scenes were like just like the camera was all over the place. I was like, I can't see what's happening. And then the one that you can see is just him getting his face squished. And I'm like, okay, that was cool, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of the fights were very dark.
I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah.
Did no one see the dick sword?
Okay, was it a dick sword?
It was a dick sword, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I saw Dick Sword.
I think there's a really excellent, like, 40-minute movie in the middle of this 2-hour movie. Like, there's an hour of, like, nothing at the front except for an awesome King Crimson song that they open with, then just a whole lot of meandering and, like, boring being in love scenes. But once she gets abducted and set on fire, it really picks up in a fun way, I think.
When I did my third watch of it, I just fast forwarded right to that point.
Good call.
Well, that's not even watching. I thought that the beginning of the movie really did a good job of like pulling me in and easing me into the visual style and easing me in. I mean, they throw you right into like red shots and stuff like that, like hugely saturated colors. If you just walked into a movie and it started as fucked up as...
Oh, I don't disagree. But also, to be fair, the movie is framed where at the halfway point, after the burninating, is when the title card drops.
I think you could easily chop 30 minutes of it, though, of that first hour. Like, there's good stuff. I like them laying in bed and stuff. But then it's like, it's just a bunch of them laying around and her reading her book being like, the primordial sky is within my heart. Can you just get set on fire already? Like,
I rarely agree with Nick, but I'm on board with him. Just like, nah, I loved all of it.
fair.
And then there was like the animated sequences.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's so good. I forgot about those until I watched it a second time.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah. This movie felt to me like an even better version of heavy metal.
Thank you.
Like, if heavy metal could have been good, it would have been Mandy.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, the animation is very similar. But before
You
we go
even
any,
get to see a wiener.
Sort of.
You do see a wiener.
they drop full hog.
I don't know if that was a full hog. It was enough of a hog for this movie, though.
I do want to point out, this is this director's second film.
Oh, wow.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, director is Panos Cosmatos.
And I'll say he is doing exactly like what he is intending to do. Like, it's not like poorly put together or like nothing is an accident. Like, he clearly has a vision, and there's parts of it that I don't love, but it's very intentional. Like he's definitely like making the film that he wants to make, sort of a thing, you know?
I watched an interview today with the director, Nic Cage, and Nic Cage was saying how it's so great when you have a director that has that kind of vision and working in a smaller studio space, because as an actor, he doesn't have to worry about shit. He doesn't have to worry about producers coming in and fucking with shit. He can just do what the director wants.
Plus, he spent several scenes just like laying there almost asleep or literally asleep. So, like, that's also easy probably for an actor.
He made a joke about Eric Estrada. Come on.
I didn't get it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone got that joke. So Mandy. I hated her art. And that was like supposed to be it's just van art. It sucks.
I hated her whole vibe. I thought she was irritating.
As somebody who really wishes they had a wizard van.
Fair. Okay.
Was anybody else wondering why would she possibly be with him? Or is this just my like female perspective? He's like this old loser guy.
He's a good-looking lumberjack. He's a sexy lumberjack that listens to all of her boring meanderings.
He's so much older than she is. Can I just say, when the old woman hit on him at the end of the movie, I was like, there's an age-appropriate partner for you, Nic Cage.
Oh.
Ouch. She did seem a lot younger, you're right.
Now, to be fair, Mandy didn't look like a spring chicken. Like, life hadn't been easy on her.
That's fair.
No, I mean, everyone in this looks like
Yeah.
absolute
That was kind
shit.
of the vibe.
Also, it really made me think, like, if I'm going to have a cult, I want to have an attractive cult. Because every cult I see seems to be real fucking busted.
These ones had the best cultists, though. There was like Baby Teeth. Baby Teeth was really good.
There's Big Boy.
Yeah, the big boy.
With curly blonde hair,
Curly blonde hair.
Jeremiah's got a perfect combination of like great hair, but like he's kind of disgusting, but like he has this beautiful mane of hair. Like it looks like a wig, which it I suppose probably was because this is a movie.
No, he grew it. Believe, just believe.
It's definitely uglier people than you usually see in a movie, which I guess is refreshing.
I mean, Drive Angry also had a cult that was full of pretty busted people.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of the thing. Cults for uglies.
Cults for uglies.
I mean, if you're only going to give someone 3 lines and then they're going to die, do you really want to pay for beautiful people prices?
Well, here's the thing. You can't have a movie about a cult with pretty people because Scientology won't allow it.
Oh, there you go. The cultist roles, though, would be awesome to play. I always think about that, like, if I were acting in one of these movies, like, being one of those cultists, there's that slack-jawed fucking dude sitting in the car, like, rolling the window up and down.
Yeah.
That was great. So, we haven't really talked about, like, what this movie is.
Okay, yeah. So I think it wouldn't be a Cage Match episode without a Nick and or Sean quick quote-unquote recap.
I've noticed the quick recaps tend to not be quick.
I'm trying really hard.
We're working on things.
The problem is...
I've gotten really good at segues, and Nick's gotten good at summing things up.
Yeah, I'm real good at brevity. Okay, so it like takes place in some woods.
By Crystal Lake.
Nic Cage is a lumberjack, and Mandy's a stay-at-home artist.
No, she had a library job or something.
She worked at a convenience store that charged $5 for a tomato in 1983. Oh, this movie takes place in 1983.
For no reason.
I mean, the great tomato shortage of 83.
The tomato famine. The Italians were up in arms. Not that joke. Yeah, so he's a lumberjack. She's an artist that also works at a convenience store selling overpriced tomatoes. And one day, like, she's out just, like, having a smoke in the red lighting. This wild-ass van drives up on him, and it's got the cult leader in it. And he kind of does, like, a roll-by, and he's like, And he sees Mandy, and he's like, nice. And
I like her vacant eyes.
yeah, I really like the way it looks like her face has been run over.
And I want to point out, you're describing this as though that's the first plot beat, but that happens at the 45-minute mark.
Well, I mean, okay, you've got a lot of, like, development for 45 minutes, and then...
But developing a character who just dies
but
immediately.
We need to understand his reason for wanting to murderate.
Look, you wanted it brief. I'm trying to be brief by cutting out a third of the movie.
There you go. Thank you.
I think it's a good synopsis. I think that's the third of the movie that should have been cut out.
I just like that they're like justifying to the audience why he's sad that his wife died by like spending all this time with their characters. And it's like, it's his wife. Of course he's upset. We assume that they like each other.
We could suss that one out.
They watched Cheddar Goblin commercials together.
Oh my god, I love the Cheddar Goblin.
So Cheddar Goblin is a scene where after Mandy dies, Nic Cage walks into the living room and there's a commercial playing, which could have been a commercial right out of the 80s because, I mean, that's what they're going for, but I wasn't unsure that I hadn't seen that commercial before about a goblin who eats all the macaroni and cheese and then like throws it up in kids' faces because it's goblin good.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's clear that I didn't love this movie, but every time there was something they were watching on TV, I was just like, wow, I wish I was watching that instead.
But the Cheddar Goblin's like a freaky puppet, and the other thing I like about him is the way the Cheddar Goblin commercial is cut. There's like a lot of like oddly lingering shots. It'll be like Cheddar Goblin like puke on a kid, and then it'll just kind of be like a frame of Cheddar Goblin just kind of like standing there for like several seconds. Like it's not cut at all how a commercial would be cut. It's like cut like a weird art film, and it makes me laugh a lot. I'm like, cut away from Cheddar Goblin.
But they made the Cheddar Goblin thing for like $5,000 or something too. They contracted the guy to like make a puppet and do the whole thing.
So I could have done that for $2,000.
You should have talked to Cosmos Panatos.
I got a goblin right here.
Panos Cosmatos.
I really want a budget breakdown of this movie. I know Nicolas Cage was the most expensive thing, but I want to know how much everything else cost.
Oh, the actual real budget breakdown? A lot of red light. I mean...
Yeah, that's not cheap.
Lots of red light.
Yeah, that's the most expensive light.
Yeah, so he goes back and the cult leader, he goes back to his cult. He tells like Red Foreman that he needs to like go out and not.
He's like meth foreman. He's like Red Foreman if you like had been on
Yeah,
meth
meth
for a while.
He's like, I need that girl. She makes me feel complete, or I can't remember the exact word. It was kind of creepy, but in like a beautiful way. He's like, I need you to get her and do whatever you gotta and use Fatty over there for payment or whatever.
Yeah, do you have the horn of Abraxas?
Yeah,
I thought that was a euphemism for a penis, but it wasn't.
It should be. It is now.
I love the relics in this. So Meth Foreman takes Fatty and a couple of the other like cultists out in their Winnebago.
Okay, I do want to say, when they're sitting in the car and the Slack-jawed one's just playing with the window,
Yeah,
that's totally what you did in the 80s when, not every car had automatic windows.
Yeah.
You
Pre
played
cell
with them.
phone days.
And Meth Foreman's obviously getting upset because he's like, you're going to kill the battery. Like, you can see it in his face. He's like, kill the battery. We're going to be lost out here. So he grabs the horn of Abraxas.
Which is just an ocarina.
Yeah. And he plays some, like, bitchin' tunes out in the woods. And I think it was two notes. Like a...
Yeah, it's a summoning.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, did it work? And then you see the red lights coming from the distance behind them. And then the Cenobites on motorcycles show up.
The Ghost Riders?
Yeah. They drink some stuff from a weird paste jar.
And they were in both movies, but they were a bit more agreeable in Prisoners of the Ghostland. They were mean in this one.
So they, give up Fatty as a blood sacrifice because the Cenobites are like blood for blood. And so we were talking about how
Cenobites.
he summoned the Cenobites to go kidnap Mandy.
Yeah.
And they go and like
And they do.
yeah, and they do.
Successfully.
They beat up Red.
Did like in that scene though, he thinks they drug her up, and then he thinks, this is how I'm gonna win her over. I'm gonna play her my single.
Oh my god, he makes her listen to his fucking mixtape.
Jeremiah was a really swell guy.
It's an incredible album.
It's 17-minute long song that they put up on SoundCloud.
Did they really?
Yeah,
It's-
when they released this.
It's the song which did become a bestseller after the movie, but it also has a 17-minute in-character interview with
that's
Jeremiah
what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fucking awesome.
talking about his life and God.
But yeah, so before that, they drug her up with the
Yeah, like LSD.
LSD. They dropped that right in her eyes, but then they also sting her with a giant bug.
It's a tarantula hawk wasp.
Oh,
But why?
Just to contribute to the yuckiness of the movie, I think.
It was apparently marinating in some kind of chemical, so I'm assuming this is headcanon that they just like soak it in LSD and then it stings you, and not only is like the pain gonna make your high like that much higher, but there's also just, extra poisons and venoms in it to like get you that next
Also,
level.
if you're asking questions at this point,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I take it back.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I would try it.
So-
I do want to say I
wild.
did appreciate that you had the Hell Riders, the Cenobite bike riders, but you had one guy with just a 4-wheeler.
Yeah.
he was the less talented one. Growing up, I used to be the kid who was always riding a scooter with all my friends riding a bike. So that was the me equivalent of the biker gang because I couldn't ride a bike.
He plays his mixtape, he shows her his wiener, and she laughs.
As
Yeah.
you should.
Yeah, because I'm not as worldly as I'm sure some Mandys are, but that penis was not like a highlight of my day. So
It could have been a grower.
it could have been.
Probably not.
Yeah, and actually, if you zoom in on the screen a little bit, you can actually see the penis.
I mean, after most non-adult documentary penises I've seen on TV, mostly being HBO, like they all have the weird CG penis that's just overly large.
That's just the Watchmen.
He does have that big
That is the
blue
Watchmen.
schlong. But I will say, it is the smallest movie dick I've ever seen. Like,
Yeah, it made me feel good because it's like, not only am I bigger than this guy, but I don't have to hang out with all of his weird, creepy cult friends.
yeah, it's like when he takes out his dick, suddenly his entire personality makes sense. Like,
Yeah, it just all gels right there.
Yeah. Oh, this cult, I get it now.
So
Okay, so she laughs.
she laughs, and then the cult leader's like, well, fuck that. And so now apparently she doesn't complete him, and he goes out to Nic Cage, who's like tied up with like
Barbed
some
wire.
barbed wire. Like his hands are bound to a fence, and
And
he's
he's
got
got-
like a barbed wire like fucking gag in his mouth, and he's like, hey man, I'm gonna kill your bitch, and then I'm gonna kill you too. And so one of the cultists like strings up this sleeping bag that's thrashing, and they pour gas all over it, and they light it on fire, and it's like
It's probably
Let
Mandy,
them-
but we don't know for sure. We never really find out.
that's true. You
Just
don't
kidding.
see her in the bag. They could be burning anyone in that
It
bag.
could be anyone.
she could have joined the cult. That was the easy out. They're like, okay, she's in. We gotta fake her death now, because that's what you do when you join a cult. You fake your death.
I just assume she's painting vans somewhere in like Vermont.
So they set her on fire, and Nic Cage gets to do some sweet, like, silent screaming and stuff. And we have, like, just real intense visuals. And then
The movie starts.
The movie starts.
Yes. And then the Mandy title card shows up. We're solidly an hour in.
Yeah.
I gotta say, those chapter cards were fucking sick, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, those were nice.
Yeah, they all, like, nice, like, old 80s metal
Metal
kind
as
of
fuck.
like, album art. So they leave, and Nic Cage, you know, gets his shit together, and he like pulls his fucking hand out through the barbed
Ouch.
wire, and he's like just cut himself. Also, does he have a T-Rex tattoo on his left arm in this
I
movie?
hope so.
I think so, yeah.
That was fucking sick.
T-Rex like a
Yeah.
Tyrannosaurus, or
Also-
like T-Rex like
Yeah, like a
The musician.
Tyrannosaurus. not
Yeah.
like-
bang a gong
This is-
T-Rex.
What is it with this era of Cage? Because this and what was the one with the ghost wife and the daughter?
Between Worlds.
Between Worlds, where we
Yeah.
just
Instant classic.
He's got like a long sleeve like baseball shirt with a tiger
He
on
sure
it or
does.
something, and then tighty whities.
yeah, just the tidy
Yeah.
whitey look. Just
I feel like that vibe kind of kicked off with Joe, that one he did a couple years earlier, where he's like drilling sap from trees or whatever. Have you guys seen that one? I feel like that was like where he kicked into this era of like, I'm redneck lumberjack Nic Cage now.
We just did
Yeah,
that as
we
our
just
last
did
episode.
Yeah.
I think once your body starts to change in older age, you sort of figure out what roles
Yeah,
you
he's
want
going
to
for the
take.
dope
we all get
thing.
them. We're all gonna be redneck lumberjacks one day.
So Cage gets himself out, has a sad moment with the supposedly his wife's skull.
Has a good tequila scream. in
Oh,
the-
Best,
Yeah.
best scene in the whole movie, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yeah. Goes in and like cleans up by like, I don't know, rinsing himself with vodka and getting drunk and sitting on the toilet and
Screaming.
screaming.
and
Lots of
screaming.
screaming.
Some of the best
Then
Nic Cage
he
freaking out I
goes
think
in-
we've seen in cinema. It is a
Agreed.
top tier Nic Cage freak out.
Yeah.
He said he was taking a lot of his emotions from his recent divorce, from like divorcing his 14-year wife of 14 years.
And I think it was his 14th wife in 2 years.
But he used it as like, you know, therapy. And I love that aspect of Cage.
Character
It
acting.
gives us the
That
best
neo
stuff.
shamanic
Oh, yeah.
acting style that he's gonna write a book on one day.
There you go.
So he gets all cleaned up. Then he goes and visits his buddy Carruthers, who gives him his crossbow back. Like it's Cage's crossbow that he's been holding on to. And he's like, what are you going to do with that thing? He's like, I want to hunt. And so he's like, well, then you're going to need this other thing. It's in the cabinet there. And he opens it up, and it's just 2 arrows to go with it. It's like, cool. He's like, I made those myself. And I'm like, that's fucking impractical. You can buy those. And he goes and like, you see him like picking off 4-wheeler dude.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you're
'Cause
missing
then
an
he goes
important
and
thing.
makes an axe.
Oh yeah, so he goes home and
Forges an axe.
What the fuck is up
Well,
with the
I know
axe?
that we're the Star Trek people, but that was like such a Klingon weapon, you know?
It's very much like a batleth.
Was
yeah.
that what he was going for?
It's like halfway between a batleth and a lurpo, right?
Exactly.
The design of the axe is inspired by the metal band Celtic Frost's logo.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be?
The F of the
The
Celtic
F
Frost.
Of Celtic Frost.
Yeah, I just thought that was obvious, so I didn't think we needed to say it, right? Everybody knew that instantly, right?
It's reductive.
I mean, this is bad podcasting. We'll just cut that explanation. It's fine.
This is the biggest pain point of this movie for me. It's just like, why?
Because it's awesome.
It is, but why? He's got fucking murder to do, and he's forging. He's smelting and melting things, and then
Well, you don't rush into revenge.
I think outside of a few very selective sections, you could kind of say why about most of this movie. So it's like, the why, I guess, is for stylistic purposes at the end of the day, right? Because that's kind of the whole thing, is like an exercise of stylizedness. Like
100%. But then it's immediately taken from him, and then he finds it again. So like, he could have just found it.
Yeah.
I like the forging scene.
It's
I thought
cooler
that was
that he
fucking
makes
cool.
it himself, and we get the scene. So
I'm not saying it's not cool. It's just like,
impractical.
Why?
It's cooler than Iron Man making an Iron Man suit on a computer.
he had a
Fair
hammer.
enough. He did once have a hammer.
He did once have a hammer.
So he goes with his newly minted FX.
FX.
Facts.
Yeah, his fax machine. He takes his fax machine to the Cenobites, and he like shoots Quad Guy, and then immediately gets in his like Bronco and fucking rips around and just gives the guy in the quad a header with the Bronco, but it launches his car into the air. And so then they capture him and take him back to, like, I don't know.
Cenobite.
Yeah,
trailer.
Cenobite hell. And
these bikers kind of vary between being nearly indestructible and being really easy to kill, depending on like the context of the scene. Yeah.
Whatever's convenient.
like, they'll bleed a lot and not die, but then they could also just like get a hangnail and die.
Well, the next one falls down a pit.
Yeah, but he didn't die.
Yeah, then he like climbs out of the pit.
So Cage is like handcuffed to a radiator in a basement, and
We've all
his
been there.
left hand is nailed to the tile floor, which is impractical, but loosens up this pipe and like tricks a Cenobite to coming in over to him, and then he knocks him with it and sends him into the previously mentioned pit. And
But previously unseen pit.
yeah, previously mentioned, but totally unseen.
Previously mentioned, but not previously shown. Yeah.
Deus Ex Pit. Yeah, the God Pit. And he like goes upstairs, and they introduce us to Sword Deck by first showing us a room of people who have been butt sexed to death, and they have very like bloody butts. And I was like, oh, I bet they got humped to death. And then we go into the next room.
It's like I saw a bunch of bloody butts followed by a sword dick, and that like I did not make a logical connection between the two.
You guys just saw a bunch of bloody butts.
There's so much weird shit at this point. But you know what? You're right. Check off sword dick. If you see a bloody butt in scene 1, there's got to be a sword dick in scene
Sword
3.
dick.
Those are narrative bloody butts.
Narrative bloody.
Yeah. So you see the narrative bloody butts.
You asked to be on this podcast. I was going to remind that.
And then you go into this next room, and he's like sneaking up on this like Cenobite who's just sitting there watching porno or
With his
adult
sword dick.
so like when he goes to attack, they counters, and then they get into a scuffle, and Sword
He also screams before attacking him, which is not the best technique when sneaking up on someone.
Yeah.
No,
He's had a rough time.
that is not the best. And then eventually Cage manages to cut his throat, and Sword Dick's just bleeding
So
out,
much blood.
Wait,
in
no.
his mouth.
Here's the one joke I wrote for this bit.
you wrote a joke?
Yeah. Sword Dick goes to tackle him and gets hoisted on his own petard.
Oh, that's so good.
Thank you.
Don't encourage it.
Someone
Yeah,
appreciates
Sammy.
my humor.
You're
He
both
gets
on
hoisted by
podcast
something.
now. So he bleeds out all over Cage's face and in his mouth, and it's
Just
getting
because we
wild.
want Cage to have that bloody face, you know?
He
Such a
wears
good bloody
it
face.
It's such a
so
vibe.
well.
And then after he kills the second guy. Red takes a pull from the mason jar of what I assume
Not
is the
even
bad
a
acid.
pull. He gets like a finger touch of it, and just like has.
And then we see the Raiders of the Lost Ark face melting.
It's extremely high grade LSD. They said this would turn the monster guys, right? They said this would turn those guys into being weird chain demon things.
But it's weird because like, didn't they give them this mason jar at the like Winnebago scene also? So do they just keep giving them bad LSD? And
I think so.
Like,
Sure.
well, now we just like bad LSD. We like having shitty trips. So yeah, he has a face melting experience on some really shitty LSD.
More cartoons.
More cartoon scenes. Which
The last
is
of the cartoons.
Cool. Yeah.
Kills one more dude. I don't think we need to keep focusing so much on the logistics of which dude he kills.
I do want to say this is the leader of the Cenobites who he shoots with the crossbow through the back of the neck.
Oh yeah.
And then dude just pulls
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, he pulls
Yeah.
it through
Through
his
the front.
neck.
Yeah.
And then like just stands there and bleeds for a minute, and then they have a fight. It was pretty good.
This is the axe fight.
Yeah, where he like gets to use his cool axe that everybody likes the design of and the functionality of.
Okay.
And
I mean, there's only one fight scene in this movie really worth talking about before we get to
The
that.
chainsaw fight. See.
long saw.
Chainsaw fight.
Sammy's got it.
But before we get to that, there's the slackshot guy who's like waxing the car,
Oh yeah.
and then out of nowhere, the axe just flies and just catches him in the head and he dies.
Yeah.
They
That
don't
is
care.
a fantastic death.
No, like obviously the attacking the Cenobites required more attention and more, film.
Yeah.
Like killing normal stupid human cultists is
Pretty
nothing.
quick.
Yeah, that's trash mobs, and so you can just do those quick one-offs.
So
The only thing that we kind of skipped over in that is the chemist.
the chemist, yeah,
Oh, but who
with
cares,
the tiger,
right?
Yeah, there's a random tiger in the film.
Yeah, that's fine. We can
Yeah,
skip
that-
that.
It's the only
The
person
only
who doesn't
fun thing
kill in
about
the
the
whole
tiger
movie,
scene-
though.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah,
but the only fun part about that scene is the script was originally the chemist had a lizard, like an iguana, and when the actor got to set that day, the director was like, Lizzie's a tiger now. The guy's like, what? There's a tiger on set.
Awesome.
That's pretty
But
cool.
that's it.
Just a small rewrite.
That seems like that wouldn't have been the easier thing to acquire. Yeah,
They
so guy
kill
gets the axe in
some
the head.
cultists. Yeah, axe head to Slackjaw.
hmm
I like that he didn't kill that girl, though. I was like, that makes me respect you.
That's right.
Like, he knows she's the victim
you let her
here.
go, Lucy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she was a victim.
He kills Metformin by stuffing the axe in his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the back side
Oh,
of the
that
axe.
was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty gruesome.
When I did my first watch of this, I wrote in my notes Chekhov's chainsaw because the first scene is Nic Cage chopping down a tree. I'm like, that chainsaw's going to come in handy
Ooh.
later. Doesn't. It's another chainsaw he just comes across.
Well, yeah.
That was not
I mean,
a very practical weapon. As soon as he picked it up, I was like, how is, like, it takes a minute to turn those on, And
Right.
it was a
And it
problem.
did take
I know,
him a
I was like,
minute.
this is not a good idea. Use your
The other guy
axe.
has a chainsaw that's 3 times as long that starts immediately.
Wow. It's the opposite of the scene in the beginning where we saw that old man holding hanging brain.
my parents have his and hers chainsaws.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so there's a chainsaw fight, which was pretty badass.
So
Yeah.
good.
Another major highlight of the film.
And it's all kind of downhill after that.
Yeah. The visuals of Jeremiah's church is kind of cool, but he squeezes Jeremiah's head to death, and Jeremiah says, I'll blow you, man! I'll fucking suck your dick! And then he smushes his head with his
And then
bare
instantly
hands.
is like, fuck you, you should bow to me.
Yeah.
And then Nic Cage says,
oh, God,
now.
yeah, it's like super metal voice.
But yeah, so crushes Jeremiah's fontanelle never sealed up apparently because
Apparently.
his
Soft
head
head.
just like squishes good. And then Nic Cage burns down the church, gets in his car, and
I loved how crazy he looked at the end. That was awesome.
He starts having weird visions.
I mean, we
Hallucinations is better.
did
Hallucinations.
establish earlier that we never saw the body. We saw a body.
I was just waiting for him in the car.
She was in the car the whole time.
She was in the
That's right.
backseat.
She was in the car
She's
the
like,
whole
"I'm just
time. She
warming
was
up the
waiting in the
car."
passenger seat. Oh. How embarrassing that he went on that murder spree.
I've got your White Snake tapes. Let's go. Come on.
I just love that scene because I was watching that scene again last night, and he's just slow turned to Mandy, head covered in blood, just that smile, and I'm like, that's amazing.
It's a great moment.
Oh, he's fucking lost it. It's so good. Yeah, so that's Mandy.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty
short, brief.
visually astounding.
This is a music video disguising itself as a feature film.
Yeah, I mean, I think we said Nic Cage barely speaks in this film.
Yeah. I thought it would have been interesting just to do quotes for this movie from other people reacting to his silence.
Yeah, there you
like
go.
the chemist's whole scene, because he just talks and Nick doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
And he just like keeps like continuing it. Everything was like very strong shots, very like tight close-ups. Like if it's a close-up, it's a tight close-up. It's the colors, the filters are like just incredibly saturated.
The set design, like I loved their house.
Oh, man.
Yes,
all the
yeah.
times that it
And
looks
set
like an
dressing,
actual like
yeah.
alien landscape.
Yeah.
I would have.
Yeah, it looks like he's going into hell for like a lot of the second half. It's like he keeps going into like more cavernous, like scary areas. Like it almost feels like a Dario Argento film for a lot of the second half. Like just like, ooh, more spooky tunnels and things I'm driving down or whatever. Now I'm climbing into a pit. Like who even cares what the plot is? Like he's going this direction now. Like you had a very clear sense of the path, even if you didn't have a clear sense of the why.
Plot's irrelevant. This movie looks insane.
It does look insane.
The plot isn't horrendously relevant, is not untrue.
No, I mean a revenge story doesn't have to have a ton of depth
Yeah.
to it, right? Like
And they
It's
really
a
hang on the
cracker.
emotion.
And
Like you
all
really like they're really in it. They really feel it, even if it's like not
Yeah.
complicated. It's straightforward.
I feel like most of what I felt was like yucky and disgust personally.
Well, I don't think it's supposed to make you feel like butterflies and clean. So I think you walked away with the right take on that.
definitely.
It does have like a very gas station bathroom kind of vibe.
Yeah, they accomplished their goal of making me feel bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gas station bathroom.
Gas station
With a
bathroom
sword check.
movie for real.
Matchstick Men Nic Cage would not have been able to handle the environments.
Not a chance.
All right, so Nick, what's your quote for this one?
So my quote was like at the very beginning when Nic Cage comes home to Mandy and he tells like he knocks on the door, like opens it and then just says knock knock.
Who's there?
Eric Estrada.
Eric Estrada, who?
Eric Estrada from Chips.
So dumb.
It's great.
It's not even a joke.
I think it's the first.
Oh,
I think
man,
that's the
I
first
love
dialogue
those
in the
jokes.
entire film too. I think that's the first thing anyone says.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it is.
When I was in college, I had this friend whose kid would like come up with jokes and like he would tell me them and it's like, why did the monkey fall out of the tree? Because it was dead. It's like, that's not a joke, but you're like 4, so I'll let it slide.
Yeah.
Like,
You don't
I like
understand
this.
humor yet.
but I love a good non-joke presented as a joke.
I mean,
Because it's
This
disappointing
podcast-
for you, but it makes me happy.
Sammy, did you have a particular quote from this movie you liked?
Yeah. I feel like I was caught off guard by so much of the dialogue, but the one that like surprised me the most was when Nic Cage said, "You are a vicious snowflake." I'm just like, okay, you might as well
Yeah.
say that. I don't know.
Mine was from the first bed scene of their Mandy and Reds, where they're talking about their favorite planets, and he says, "Is this Saturn?" And she's like, "Oh, that's the first one, we discovered." Blah blah blah. It's like, I changed my mind. I like Galactus. Galactus isn't a planet. Yeah, but he eats planets.
That's it. That's the
God,
movie.
I have no quote from this movie.
Those are all the quotes. Those are all the lines.
We've lit.
That's the feeling I got the whole way through.
Written in
Script.
one draft, shot in one take.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Well,
Well done.
actually, a lot of these were single. A lot of these were single takes, according
Yeah.
to the.
Because the director kind of wanted that rough,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
feel.
Well, and I think he got good performances out of everyone overall.
Yeah, so,
like,
I
I have
mean,
no complaints about performance.
In general, what do you
Mandy's
think
performance
in
especially was really good, I feel like whatever she was doing it well, you know.
Yeah, they were all committed for sure.
I loved her big buggy eyes.
She has the craziest eyes, and I looked
man.
at the actress, and she does have kind of big buggy eyes in general, but like
During the LSD
they
scene,
managed to play those up
amped
so
everything
Uh-huh.
up,
much.
like in her features, like
Yeah, those are black holes. It's like
Yeah.
crazy. The only fun fact I really have from this one is that the primary reason that Cage did this movie is because he and Elijah Wood on the set of The Trust were talking about horror flicks, and Elijah Wood's Spectre Vision is producing different horror flicks, and he was like, I've got this director, and I think you might really like this script. And then that was the start of it all.
Funny.
So thanks, The Trust.
Well, and one of the reasons like this director took almost 10 years to make a second film was he was like, I like Spectrovision. They trust me. They let me do what I want, and I don't want to like shop around to places that are going to make me change.
Fair.
Makes sense. Okay, so before we leave this movie behind, Venn diagram, good Cage, bad movie, good Cage, good, bad, good.
Bad, good, bad, good.
I'm all in. This is a good Cage and a good movie.
I'm with Nick. Good Cage, good movie.
Alex?
Boy, I'm a little on the line. Definitely good Cage. Movie itself, I'll say good movie. At the end of the day, I do enjoy it. There's sections that annoy me, but I'll say good movie.
Good Cage, bad movie. I can't believe you guys all like it.
No, I'm with you, Sammy. I think this was a bad movie.
Well, I'm glad none of your votes count.
That's true. We're unimportant on this side, so.
Following that masterpiece, let's talk about the masterpiece that is Prisoners of the Ghostland from 2021 is weird.
No, you're done. Good summary.
Yeah, no. Nicolas Cage is put in a bomb suit and forced to go find Colonel Sanders's quote unquote granddaughter in the post-apocalyptic wastelands of
Samurai cowboy world.
maybe the future.
It's like they decided to remake Mad Max Fury Road, except for instead of being feminist, it was incredibly sexist, which that's kind of cool.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, you
kind of
nailed
just
it.
like Escape from LA, but Japanese.
I mean, how did I put it? I was like, if Tim Burton wanted to make Mad Max Fury Road is how I described it. Like, there's a lot of cool sets.
It is bright and colorful.
Yeah.
It's like Mad Max with like Western films and samurai films all stacked on top of each other, basically.
Which is cool idea.
But there's very little crossover. It's like every character is either a cowboy or like a samurai or like a Japanese sex worker, but nobody is.
You're forgetting Ratman.
Well, he's a Mad Max guy though, but nobody is both.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into the
Nobody is
Mad
both
Max
a
side of it
cowboy
later.
and a
Yeah.
samurai, or like
Mhm.
both a Mad Max guy and a cowboy or something. They're all like one of three things.
Yep.
So Nick Cage plays Hero, and at the start of this film, is robbing a bank in Samurai Town with his smoky-eyed companion,
So much
Psycho.
eyeliner.
Yeah, what the fuck is up with that guy's eyeliner?
And like bust in, get on the ground, like, and the dumbest kid we've seen yet in a Nick Cage film.
Oh yeah, this is Bad Kid.
This is
like-
bad, kid. It's like just looking at a gumball machine full of like rubber super balls. And turns to
Driving
Psycho
me crazy.
and offers him a delicious gumball. And then the movie starts. And then some years later, Nick Cage is in prison in underwear.
He's got that like samurai underwear
Yeah.
though. That's like
So before that, though, we see geisha-looking females.
Are
Like,
those Japanese sex workers?
yes.
Okay.
you covered it. Thank you.
Like
Just to be clear for the audience at home.
escaping from Samurai Town and getting in a car and driving off.
Let's see. So they escape, and then yes. So now we're pulling Nick Cage out of prison, and we're gonna send him to go retrieve the girls who have left, specifically the granddaughter of the governor, who's that guy from all those horror movies, House of a Thousand Corpses and like Saw and stuff. I can't help me. What's his name? Bill Moseley. Yes.
He was great. I mean, terrible, but great.
Yes. Yeah. Bill Moseley is Colonel Sanders, and and they strap Nic Cage. Well, Nic Cage comes out firstly in like a diaper, and all the geishas are like,
"Show us your balls."
That is something that someone says.
There's that one that's doing like a super accurate drawing of him, and then like when he takes off the diaper, she like erases the diaper and like starts redrawing, and everybody's super intense.
I can't believe they didn't show the drawing.
That's all Josie and I wanted. We're like, just show it. What's Hero's dick look like?
Show the dork.
Nick Cage won't show his penis, even in drawing form.
Terrible.
Damn shame.
This is a mistake for everyone.
You gotta pay an extra $2 million for the dong. That's
but they suit him up in like a leather like gimp suit that has little tiny bombs attached to.
Which it looked like he was in a hot place wearing a leather jumpsuit with no underwear.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And he's not allowed to take it off for 3 days or 3 to 5 days.
The colonel was just like, I have a penchant for leather. Oh no, it's supposed to be. It was 3 days.
Really had to.
He had 3 days to find
and
her
then it
niece.
resets to 5.
Once he found her, he would get 2 more days.
Didn't he have 5 to bring her
Even
back?
though it only took him half a day to find her.
Right.
But and most noteworthy though, the gimp suit has it has bombs all over it, but most noteworthy, it has bombs on the testicles. And if he a bomb on each arm, and then bombs on the neck,
In
and then
case he
bombs
tries
on
to
the
take it
testicle
off.
in case he tries to take advantage of a woman. Spoilers, he does.
He busts a nut.
Yeah, and he so they suit him up, and so he has 3 days to go retrieve the girl for the governor.
They give him a car, but then he's like, I'm gonna take a bike because I'm different. I don't know. Like, why?
Yeah, he like whips a couple shitties and then like jumps on a bicycle. He's like,
I want
Bike with a basket.
I want to know what the rules of this world are, because they exist in what I'm assuming is a tourist attraction. They're living in Samurai Town, where there are cowboys, and the bank they tried to rob.
Yeah, I think you're trying to like put too much of reality on it.
But when we have the flashback to when he the bank robbery, there are normal cops.
Yeah,
But
and
now,
the bank looks like totally futuristic and
the bank's
normal.
totally futuristic. But when he runs out of the bank, there are normal cops. But now the law is samurais and cowboys.
That's a good point.
But when like he does the bank robbery, it's also like it still has like the false front buildings and things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the external is all
Swinging
there,
doors and all that
but
kind of shit.
We haven't had that inciting incident of the nuclear waste spill to change everything around. Because once the nuclear waste is spilled,
You're forced to become a samurai or a cowboy.
Yeah, well,
that's it.
The
Or a
town's
geisha.
probably cut off because of all the ghosts out there.
Also, did they say Samurai Town? Did they say it at the beginning, or was it not until that last line of the movie where they're like, wow, Samurai Town? I was like, that's the name of this
I
fucking
think
town.
it's just the last line.
It's so
yeah.
stupid.
Could you imagine having to sit through the entire movie
but
with
so-
the knowledge that the place is called Samurai Town? Like,
So-
what's worse? Like,
Okay,
That's funny because my roommate watched it with me, and she said, "What is this town called?" And I said, "I think it's called Cowboy Town, but I can't remember."
You were this close.
Yeah.
or like one half of the block is Cowboy Town, the other Samurai Town.
well, it's officially known as Samurai
Okay.
Town.
But then but you pointed out okay, this is after all the toxic waste bill, but they have a brand new Toyota. to
Right,
get.
just a totally ordinary car. Yeah.
Yeah, the white guy just rocks up and he's got money. He's got a car. He's good.
It's not even clear what country we're.
And then there's a little
supposedly
song about how much they love the governor.
Governor. Governor. Governor.
Oh, the governor. A role that makes complete sense.
There was the wall of talking
were.
women head.
Okay,
that was weird.
were
Oh,
they
that
supposed
was
to
so
look like they
cool,
were
too.
going in and out of vaginas? Or was that just
Yes.
me?
I mean,
100%.
it sure did look like that.
Okay.
And there's also Yasujiro. The governor's like right-hand samurai, who's named Yasujiro, who's constantly like
Oh my god, Yasujiro was so hot.
he was, and he's constantly like whinily shouting for him. He's like Yasujiro, Yasujiro.
I was like, get rid of everybody else. I want to watch a movie about him.
So the governor wants Nic Cage to go find his granddaughter.
For totally not sex reasons.
For totally not sex reasons. And then, like,
Yeah.
Nic Cage like sees the photos, like, let's see why you want her back. And then one of the samurai is like, what did you say? And then everyone tries to kill Nic Cage, and then Yasujiro just starts killing everyone else. Like, what is the hierarchy of this government? They all love the governor, but they're willing to, like, yeah.
It's Wild West samurais.
Yeah.
Yes, a sword is the equivalent of a gun too in this world, I guess.
All right, so he bikes out of there.
Yasujiro rocks up in the Toyota.
Yes, and Nic Cage gets off his tricycle or bicycle.
And
that he was
Yasujiro
on.
assumably bikes away.
Yeah, right.
that was my favorite part, right? Like,
So when that scene happens, because they have a little, like, Yasujiro saves Nic Cage from the other samurai, and they kind of give each other a knowing smile. So I assume Nic Cage going off on the bike and Yasujiro rocking up was like, cool, now we're going to come up with a plan. Nuh-uh. Yasujiro's just like, get in the car, and Nic Cage drives off.
Yasujiro, you spend kind of the whole film thinking is going to have like a redemption arc, like because you learn kind of more backstory that he's.
And then Nic Cage just kills him.
Yeah, and you learn that he's like conflicted and doesn't want to work for the governor because his like sister is like a prisoner and all this stuff. And yeah, he doesn't ever come around.
Yeah. And at the end, yeah, they have a fight.
Which is a great fight.
Yeah.
I thought the fighting in general in this movie I thought was pretty fun, but yeah, I thought it was well choreographed. There's a great when he's fighting Yasujiro too. There's a great bit of like every time that they're fighting, they're having a sword fight. Every time one of them has a backswing, like several extras like run up to attack them from behind and like get caught in like the crossfire of like. So it's like anytime they swing their sword, they're killing like 5 other people while trying to fight each other, which was very funny. It's like there's probably like 40 guys die as like collateral damage of their fight. Like.
I do love the excessive amount of squibs and like just exploding blood out of people.
yes.
But never out of where they're struck, because there's like one where Yasujiro like or somebody gets like stabbed in the neck, and there's just this prolonged geyser of blood that clearly comes out of the guy's chest.
I did like the guy who gets his head put into a lantern, and then the lantern just fills with blood.
Oh,
That was a good
That
one.
was tight.
Yeah, this director definitely knows how to film violence.
Yes.
Oh, I had a nice story too, because this film was originally supposed to be filmed in Mexico, but the director had suffered a heart attack, so Nic Cage had the whole production moved to Japan to make it easier on the director.
Oh, that's interesting.
Also, I have another fun fact. Did you guys know that Nicolas Cage's past 3 wives have all been Asian women who are like 20 years younger than him? Isn't that fun?
But you know what? They're still all older than any of Leonardo DiCaprio's.
There.
Also true.
Oh my god.
They've got a solid 20 years on anybody DiCaprio.
Did you guys catch that this movie has like 7 or 8 production studios made it? A lot of these do, but it's like Elysian, RLJE, Patriot Pictures, Untitled Entertainment,
Booze,
Booze,
bang,
booze,
bang.
bang, bang.
Yeah.
Saturn Films, and XYZ Films all came together to make this. I was like, it's like you're not even going to get a good film when that many studios are involved.
Yeah, Saturn is Nic Cage's production company, and then XYZ Films actually produced both of these movies that we're talking about.
So I guess it makes sense that Saturn is his favorite planet then. Is it going to change his production studio to Galactus Entertainment? Yeah.
Galactus.
No, that's trademarked.
True.
RLJE also produced and did a bunch of distribution on a lot of his other things. They did.
Mandy included, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they did Rage, Pay the Ghost, Dog Eat Dog, Mandy, Color Out of Space, Prisoners of the Ghostland, and Sympathy for the Devil.
Okay, so yeah, he goes to the Ghostland, I guess. Should I keep going? Yeah.
Yeah, drives down the freeway, runs into a bus full of samurai and mutants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Accurate.
and
then-
one Bernie boy.
And wakes up like
Well,
with
they're all like
crashed.
prisoners.
Of the
Yeah.
ghost.
They're
of the
like,
Ghostland.
Prison fatigues.
They are definitely
Well,
like.
except for the samurai.
There were also the samurai. You're right. Yeah, it was interesting because it's like full traditional samurai masks and then like stripy outfit prisoners.
Yeah.
who like walked like spiders,
And one Bernie guy.
and one Bernie guy with awesome shades with aviators.
He did have 6 shades.
Yes, there's people pouring toilet paper across things. Everybody's doing basically anything crazy you can imagine. There's people being built into mannequins. They're having like mannequin faces put over their faces. There's people who have a giant rope attached to a big clock tower, and they're trying to pull back the second hand.
Okay, I love that whole thing.
They're going, "Stop the time from moving!"
They're all like, if I could hold back time.
Exactly.
So this is the clock tower scene. Okay, so they hadn't mentioned anything about like nuclear waste at this point, but like the clock tower scene, I'm like, oh, all right, 15 minutes to midnight. All right. I don't think this director understands what a meta is for, but all right, we're getting there.
So
Someone gets my jokes, Nick.
I got it. I didn't like it.
I would be that annoying guy who keeps reading Wuthering Heights. It's like,
Oh,
who
perfect.
cares? But it's like,
Good
guys,
choice.
this is a great story. Check
Okay.
it
Oh,
out.
you mean
It's
Enoch?
like a tomato or
Enoch.
something. They're dragging him around in like a big moving house on wheels sort of a thing. Dragging him around town. He's reading to everyone.
Here's where this society completely fails. You have the rat people who have semi-trucks that apparently work, though they never would go anywhere.
and literally they never use those fucking
Well,
things
no,
other than to
but-
turn the lights on.
He explained it. He said like any engine turning on would bring the demons.
Ah.
So that's why they couldn't. So he scavenged and like fixed things and like saved all the gas,
Mm.
but they couldn't use them.
I was
because it
just gonna
brought
s-
the Bernie
I mean,
boys out.
I was just going to say, you have big, heavy machines, yet you have 20 guys literally holding the clock from moving,
Clock.
when you could have just tied that to one of those
Right.
trucks.
All right, that's a good point. I don't think they're thinking about weight at this point.
Quit trying to take their good union jobs. Piece of shit. Scab.
But he finds Bernice in one of the mannequin people. I like how he goes through 2 actual mannequins before he starts deciding to look at people who are clearly like people.
He's had a
The
long day.
mannequin guy is also very sensitive about. It's like Slash maintains these mannequins. He's got like a top hat, and he's like he gets like mad anytime that Nic Cage messes with him.
I do love the double. They tried to do a double fake out where he's going through, and clearly none of these people are Bernice. And then you see one that has like her hair, and he takes it off, and,
Yeah.
and then he like takes off the mask, and it's her. It's like
Double fake out.
Well, the mannequin thing is like therapy. So maybe she just didn't want to lose sight of her identity. And so she's like, can I be a mannequin that also just looks like me?
Ooh.
well, what did they say? She was cursed, or they would find her, then
She's
steal her
possessed, and she can't leave while the spirit is possessing her.
And she
but
can't
then,
talk.
But then the spirit went into her friend instead, who replaced her, I guess.
And you have problems with Mandy's story.
Yeah, this movie is a little all over the
Okay.
place.
This one at least has dialogue.
This movie felt to me like a fucked up fairy tale in a way, and Mandy felt more like a drug.
Yes,
dream.
that's a fair comparison. That's a fair description of both.
Like I didn't like the fairy tale,
I will
but
say, I do have to give this movie props on one thing, because the next scene when he's like dragging Bernice back down the highway and getting all the mannequin stuff off her, and they do a very sensual pouring water into her mouth. Also, she's played by
he just keeps shouting, "Take it off! Take it off! Take it off!"
Sophia Botella, whose star has fallen greatly if this is what she's in now.
Also, I can't help but notice that like she's like none of the main cast is Asian, but all of the like extras are Asian, which doesn't feel great, you know?
A Japanese director.
I think she was in. I feel like she's meant to be Japanese in the movie.
That's how I felt, and she's not.
When the production was moved to Japan, the governor and Beatrice got recast because the original actors didn't want to or couldn't
Oh.
go.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But this is where we get the great scene of Nic Cage getting horny and having his
are my
left
favorite
testicle
scenes.
get blown up.
You know when you're force feeding a woman water, it's just hot. Can't help it.
You can't help but get your balls blown off. You've heard of blue balls, but now we have exploding testicles.
Boom balls.
Thank you. There we
Boom
go.
balls. got his left testicle blown off, and then like holds it in his hand, says something in Japanese, and passes out.
I really was hoping that what he said in Japanese was just testicle, but it wasn't.
I hope so.
And then the movie ends.
Yeah, the end.
No,
Good job.
It goes so much beyond that. That's when we see the shootout with him and Psycho.
Yes.
That's when we have the flashback.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he has his dream flashback.
And we find out that,
Psycho's aptly named.
yeah, and Bernice was a child who got caught in the crossfire when he was like running from the cops. So and her mother died.
And we found out that he was innocent.
Yeah.
He didn't kill those
No.
people.
He was, in fact, the hero
Yes.
trying to save that child.
Right. But that's how she got that scar, which is my favorite quote from this one.
And how she also fell into sex slavery.
Right, that's part of it too. But yeah, as he's undressing her before the testicle explodes, he says, "Quite a scar you got there. You get that roller skating? Woo!"
He's a little bit wacky in this one.
Oh man.
Okay, so at this point, like, so for him to get the extra 2 days on his like wrist bomb thing, she has to say her name.
Mhm.
So while he's passed out, she like says her name into the thing and screams it, and it finally gives him the extra 2 days.
Or specifically say, like, she has to say her name into his
Wristband.
thing
Yeah.
that has, like, a voice, like, recognition
Yeah.
software on
Yes.
it.
And the voice thing has like the governor like recorded on it being like, Bernice, say your name, darling. If you're there, say your name.
Say your
Just say your
name,
name right
Bernice.
here, Bernice. I can't quite hear you. You better speak up a little. Like,
That's when the ghosts show up again.
I like that you're presenting this like there's some degree of like continuity, and this isn't like the movie doesn't feel that way. It feels like the very stream of consciousness is just like, and things are happening. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't even.
I'm trying.
You're
but,
doing
like,
your best shot.
But that's when he gets in a fight, and then to save Bernice, he pushes her away from the Melty Boys, which sets off the arm bomb
Oh, that's right.
because he strikes a woman.
Which doesn't do much.
No.
Like,
Well, it blows out his elbow.
yeah.
But it's like down here. And it
why
doesn't.
wouldn't
It's like,
but he builds an army of darkness style robot arm to replace it later. So
yeah.
Yeah, sweet mannequin hand.
He does have a sweet mannequin hand.
He passes out again after this explosion, where he dreams the history of the nuclear wasteland.
yes.
Oh, through the like exposition
Yeah.
play.
Was it a dream or was it another flashback?
I couldn't
No,
tell.
it was a dream because because he left with Bernice when she was still in the mannequin stuff, and then him and Bernice are standing in front of the clock
Yeah.
tower, hearing this
Like
explanation,
from a bunch of characters
So it's
that
a
are
dream.
actually there.
Okay.
and then they go back.
There was a lot of back and forth that I couldn't follow.
So maybe that happened, and then the ghosts turn out to be ex-cons, and one of them is Psycho.
Yes.
But they're still good
Yes.
friends, and Psycho just kind of lets them go.
It's a
Yeah.
really heartwarming reunion.
They go and take out the governor.
Yep.
Which is where we've had the fight with Yashijiro.
Yeah.
That just happens. Like, we don't,
Yashijiro.
there's not a lot that happens within that other than just blood.
Yeah, the governor's like a real. He gets broken down real quick.
Yeah. Like, as soon as
all,
things-
all of the women who have been subservient to him are just like, "You're a limp dick
Governor."
bitch."
Yeah, they take all his money and run. I was along for the ride most of the whole time until the very end when Bernice kills the governor. And one of the people from the Ghostland is like, sees it and goes, and like runs down
the
the
Ghostland.
alley and turns a corner. It's like, the governor's dead. And she's back in the Ghostland. I'm like,
What?
yeah, no,
I think the Ghostland is like really just around the
it
corner.
is literally just next door.
When I was in college, the town my college was in had been a dry town. Here's just a story. Had been a dry town forever, and only recently it started doing beer and wine sales. No liquor sales in this small town. But if you went to the edge of town and then just like around an S-curve, so like you've traveled maybe half a mile from college campus, you go through the S-curve and you're now in Independence, Oregon, and you can buy liquor in Independence and then just drive it back. So it literally is like kind of driving down to the 7-Eleven, not the first 7-Eleven to your house, but like the second 7-Eleven. And it's like that kind of feeling. It's like all the same bars, like full, I don't know, Wild West town, Oregon.
We got two things to talk about as far as I can tell. Ratman and the minigun.
Oh God, Ratman, awesome.
Yes, he's fun.
Girl with a minigun, less awesome.
Oh, Susie. So, okay,
When
as
they
they're
get back
they're
in-
coming back into Samurai Town to usurp the governor.
God, yes. How could I forget the minigun? That's a giant, Gatling gun. Yeah.
Yeah, she just runs across the street and there's like a minigun sitting in
That
a
was-
fucking
Okay, so
barrow.
Mandy had Chekhov's pit, and Deus Pit Machina,
Yeah.
Deus Ex Pit.
Deus Ex Pit, and this one has Deus Ex Minigun.
Unestablished minigun.
Yeah, that
Feet away from the crowd.
That minigun has been bolted to the coffee shop for generations. If you didn't notice it, that's your
fault. Yeah.
But that is an establishment in this town. Samurai Town is known for their miniguns.
Just turrets everywhere.
Yeah.
God, yeah. How could I forget?
And Ratman speaks like he's got one of those
Mhm.
voice boxes because he smoked too
Yes.
much.
Yeah, he does have like a weird robot voice.
I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, Ratman looks like he's right out of Thunderdome.
Yeah, it's like if the Cenobites
Oh
were
yeah,
nice.
totally.
Yeah. So going to the whole thing where they can't drive the trucks because it'll attract the ghosts. Once they make peace with the ghosts, they have this whole montage of getting the trucks ready for war, and then just forget that happens.
Yeah, because they don't need to go to war anymore, I guess.
Yeah, I thought those were going to roll into Samurai Town and they don't do shit
And
other
then-
than light up.
Yeah, but then 15 minutes later, we find out they don't need to because they're already there because it's literally just outside the
That's
wall.
right. Yeah, they didn't have to go far.
It's at least like a lot of times when they're doing weird kind of pointless stuff in this movie, it's kind of like, oh, I see. It's like for this goofy visual or for this kind of thing. But it's like there's nothing interesting about like a preparing to go attack montage. That's like a boring part of movies for the most part, I would say. Mandy does it kind of interesting when he makes the axe. But it's like watching them all like put these cars together, I thought was boring. And then it's like, and then it also has no point. It's like, I don't know. Anyway.
It was because they were working together.
Yeah, teamwork.
to escape
Uniting.
Ghostland.
Yeah.
Unite
would
the
be
Ghostland cult.
Yeah.
Much cooler if all those cars turned out to be like Autobots and they like just transform and then they just fucking
It's just a new movie.
mech walk in
It's just
and-
Ratman at the head.
Yeah.
I
Then nobody would have cared about the minigun because why do they have fucking Decepticons and Autobots?
If that had happened, none of us would have batted an eye. We would have been like, yeah, now there's giant robots. Like, yeah, we would have been like, uh-huh. Like, I don't think there's anything the film could have done to surprise us at that point. Like,
Would have been so normal.
This is now a Gundam movie. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I think I do have the best quote for this film. Hi fucking yeah! Hi fucking yeah!
And of course, like honorable mentions for testicle.
Nick, did you have one?
Yeah, mine is the entire testicle line though, because I'm a completionist. I don't just run around screaming balls. God, this is
Too
highbrow.
bad.
You don't get to the top 25 in Germany by just screaming balls. Cage is like getting everybody amped up. I gotta set the scene for the people at
yeah.
home. And he's like,
Oh yeah.
now hear this, Ghostlanders. Tomorrow, we're getting out of here. The crowds are like, oh, it's impossible. Impossible? Ha! If you had told me 3 days ago that I'd be standing here with one arm and one testicle, trying to reason with you bitches, I would have said impossible too. But I'm telling you, there's a way.
It's like the Ashley Williams, like, this is my boomstick.
yes, because he's got the Ash Williams arm too. Clearly the filmmaker must like Army of Darkness at some level.
Very inspired, yeah.
Yeah,
I think the only other good line was, I am radioactive.
Yeah. Zero evidence. must be radioactive.
where do people put good Cage, bad movie, good Cage, bad Cage, good movie, bad, good?
Mhm.
Ooh, this is a good like little rap.
You
Good
think?
Cage, bad movie.
Me too. Good Cage, bad movie.
Same. Good Cage, bad movie.
Great performances in both movies.
How could I not say Good Cage, bad movie? But I will caveat it with, I do really enjoy this movie, even though it's really stupid. I found it very enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but also Good Cage just for screaming as he gets his ball blown off. Like, just that alone makes the whole thing worth it.
All right.
Oh man, wait. We didn't even talk about like in the fight later when he gets kicked in the balls and there's a pause.
Oh.
And he's thinking and then he's just like, ah, and falls off.
He and Yashujiro both hit each other.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm the outlier here because this is the one, like, this is one of the few Cage films where I'm like, all I see is just Nic Cage like hamming it up poorly. And I'm like, this isn't good Cage.
Well, I mean, he is a ham sandwich in
That's
this one
fair.
for sure.
But not in a good way, I feel.
That's fair.
Well, I felt the context called for it. Because it's like, how are you supposed to give a good performance in this movie?
I don't know. There's so much great Nic Cage around this time.
Pig.
Pig, Mandy, Joe, Color from Outer Space. And that this is just like,
That's fair. I'm probably an outlier in saying that I think I like this movie better than Mandy. It's very okay. Yeah, you're with me. It's very unique. I gotta give it that. It's like I haven't seen something else like this.
It was fun.
It is fun. It constantly keeps you like,
it was
what is
insane
going on?
and stupid.
I'm glad I watched Prisoners before I watched Mandy.
Sammy, do you have an opinion as to which one's you're the better?
I hated both of them. I think Mandy is technically better, but Prisoners has less things that yuck me out. So I think I liked Prisoners better.
All right. Well, since no one else's opinions matter on this, Nick, Mandy? Mandy's going forward.
It is the better film.
It is
even
so
if
much better.
Even if I like it less, it's a better movie.
It is. I agree. It's not for me, but it's better.
It pulls you into the movie and like really just kind of like soaks you in everything, and you
like
just
like an acid giant bee.
Yeah.
I did feel dirty afterward.
It drugs you and kidnaps you right into the movie. For both these movies, I was very like mad at Alex while watching because he picked them.
You're correct.
Fair.
I don't know. These are movies like I will definitely recommend Mandy to people, and I will definitely recommend Prisoners to certain people.
That's fair.
Mandy was on Tubi if anyone listens and wants to watch it.
It's also on Blu-ray at my house if you'd like to come over.
Yeah, you can do that.
It was on Shudder for years. It's not anymore, though. I actually thought it was a Shudder original. I didn't realize it wasn't. Like, yeah, because that was like when Shudder first like became a thing. I felt like they were like that was like their thing for like their first year. They were like Shudder, Mandy. Like it was on the front page forever. They were like, we'll charge you $1 for 6 months, and you can watch Mandy. Like, in fact, everyone go check them out. They don't pay me, but I gotta say I love Shudder and I want it to stay open.
Yeah, that's a good plug for you guys.
And maybe just while we're plugging things, maybe we'll also plug Star Trek: The Original Siblings podcast. You know, if you guys haven't seen it, and maybe we'll even plug Heard It. You know, it's pretty fun. It's a good time. Maybe we'll even plug my YouTube channel, Real Alex Brisson, where I make fun of other bad movies. Go check it out, guys. It's a good old time. I just watched Son of Godzilla. Very funny.
I did watch that one.
Peter and I both enjoyed your review of The Core.
Thank you.
Oh my god, I love the course so
it's
much.
fantastic.
Also Tucci.
Oh my god.
Yeah, always.
Tucci.
Yeah, so for anyone who's interested, please rate, review, subscribe. We're on Reddit at Cage Match Pod.
Yeah, hit us up if you want to plug anything.
Oh my god.
You fucking savages.
Thank you all for listening. Also, if you're out there and want to give us 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts, that would help us a lot.
It does, for sure. And if you're interested in supporting us, we are on Patreon at Cage Match. And special thanks to our Sparkle buddies, Josh, Sean, Josie, Rico, Matt, and Adam. And extra special thanks to our cage dancers, Ira and John. Next up, we've got a 6-11 head-to-head matchup between National Treasure 1 and a movie called Primal, which is about Nic Cage being on a boat and
priming out,
hunting
animated tigers,
the dangerous game of man.
Oh yes.
And we get to welcome back one of our first guests, Adam, from our National Treasure 2 episode.
How's Adam been?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Tune in soon.
Find out how Adam's been.
Also,
thank you, everybody.
Double extra special thanks to XYZ Productions Films for making these movies. You fucking rule.
Yeah.
These are great and wacky as shit.
Send us
and
things.
It's really Tell us, how do you know Nic Cage?
Yeah.
How did you get to know him?
Can you get him on our podcast?
Yeah, we love him.
We do. Thank you, Sami and Alex, so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
I fucking yeah.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
I fucking know.
All right, new podcast. Who wins in a fight, Galactus or Unicron?
It sounds like a one episode podcast.
Yeah, and this is it. Nick, who wins in a fight, Galactus or Unicron?
Well, Unicron is voiced by Orson Welles, as I recall, isn't he? So that's hard to beat.
Correct.
All right, he's dead, so that helps.
Yeah, that weakens his case.
Also, Galactus eats planets, and Unicron is a planet, so Galactus
would
wins.
probably eat Unicron.
matters.
Yeah, that's fair.
Touching you.
Is that Sweet Caroline?
No, I would never sing Sweet Caroline.
Good.
What was that?
It was Sweet Caroline.
Yeah, I thought so.
Touching me. I hate that song.
Are we
Yeah,
doing
I
karaoke
think
after this?
Everyone
No,
fucking hates that
absolutely
song.
I love that song.
You would think, but everybody sings it
Oh,
in karaoke.
Alex.
Peter, you're supposed to vet these people.
But I don't want to hear it at karaoke. I like it if I'm listening to it by myself. As soon as a bunch of drunk people are singing it, get me out of there.
I think it's impossible to listen to it by yourself. I'm pretty sure as soon as you turn it on, somebody rolls up next to you and they're just like, oh, is that Sweet Caroline? Let me hit that chorus, bro.
Yeah.